How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's me, Matt from the Crypto Coffee channel. And I got a special guest with me today, Joe. He's a developer of this really cool new app. So Joe, how I first found out about the app was, I think it made it onto hex.com, actually, for a brief moment in time. And then for some reason it got pulled off. Maybe because it's still in beta. I don't know why, but I remember just clicking on it and thinking, wow, like, how did I not find out about this earlier? You know?
Yeah. I think I was talking to one of the developers of the hex.com site, and I was like, "Hey, it's not really ready." So they pulled it down, but they're definitely beta testers of the app as well. So they've been giving me a lot of really good feedback, a lot of the core devs in terms of the style, the design, the information being conveyed, and stuff like that. So
Well, it's good. It looks good. It's simple, clean, elegant, non-custodial, obviously. Like no information is being shared with the user or the back end or whatever. I don't know what you can track on your end, but you don't really have to enter your identity or any information like that. Yeah, it's a good alternative. And again, guys, it's in beta right now, which means it's not fully out yet. But if you're interested in this, it could be used as an alternative to Staker app, because I feel like it kind of does all the same stuff, plus a little bit more in terms of the planning part of the ladder. But it doesn't have all the buying features and everything. So that's what I think it could, be a good alternative if you don't want to type in your Gmail address for Staker for whatever reason, if you're very security minded. But it's a cool app, man. And let's go over the thought process behind why you decided to make this.
yeah, so I would say, there are lots of really, really cool tools in the Hex community, lots of really cool builders. I use Staker app all the time. I use a lot of other tools. But for me, what I realized is that I wanted something that would allow me to kind of unplug myself from checking the price all of the time and looking at things that I think are not very productive from a a staker standpoint. And so really I wanted to have something that kind of solved three main problems. One is tell this story through charts about what is the value proposition of Hex, maybe show the price chart, maybe show some other information. There are lots of really awesome community members that are doing a really good job of making charts and visualizations that really highlight the strengths of Hex. And then the second part is, once you show those strengths, allow you to visualize your wallet in a way that makes sense from a perspective that I think most people understand, which is a dollar value, right? You've got this Hex that's locked up, and you hear lots of people in the community talk about, paying yourself in the future and this future value of money and this inflation. Well, what does that actually look like? The Hex website, I think, is really good in not revealing that information and not giving you this expectation. But I'm just a personal developer, so I can do whatever I want, right? So I want to see what my Hex stakes look like when Hex is $1, when Hex is $10, when Hex is $100. And so that was part of the thought process in that middle account section. And then once you kind of see, okay, this is the value proposition, this is how much you're making or how well you're doing, then you show that to a new person and you want to onboard them, right? So you want to say, if you take your money and you stake, $10,000, what does that look like for you? Or you stake $5,000, what does that look like for you? And help somebody else build a flow. And so this is like still early stages. A lot of the app is not fixed. It's actually open source, so you can go and like clone the thing and build it and run it yourself. Just please change my API keys, but it's open source, so anybody can see the code. There's no metrics being tracked. It literally just talks directly to the blockchain, to Infura or to BitQuery, and so there's no login or anything like that. But that's kind of the high level view of what the idea of the app is: help onboard users.
Yeah. So there's essentially, I'm gonna try to describe it without a screen in front of me, which is gonna be tough. But basically, there's a price chart. Obviously, everybody cares about the price. Then you got your account section, which is very reminiscent of Staker app, right? You can put in however many accounts you have and just track them, but it's non-custodial and it's non-intrusive. Like, you don't need a Gmail address to sign up. It lacks any feature like, bringing money in. It's purely a tracking and planning app. So this could really help you get your head around it, though, because it does. The third section of it is the planning part, where you can type in, if I stake this much Hex today in US dollar terms at the end of this date, how much could that be worth? So it almost reminds me of like stakehex.today, but simpler and mobile. And it's something that you could kind of do on the go and plan your stakes on the go. And then there's even a ladder button which I like. And you can just click it and automatically say, hey, well, what if I wanted to split this many dollars into this many equal stakes? You know, how much would each one be? And what would the earnings be? And I think you're assuming a price that's like constant price. Like if the price is what it is now in the future, right?
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of the pieces are inspired by other apps, right? So that core part, the account section, is actually inspired by a website called crispy-staker.com. So if you go there, you can actually get the exact same information. You can add in a wallet and you can literally see this is how much you're getting paid a day. This is how much you're getting paid a month. And it's also this non-custodial system. You can connect with MetaMask if you want.
How do you spell crispy?
CRISPY.
Oh, that's not working for me.
Staker.
Oh, dash.
Yeah, there's a dash in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it looks really simple. You just click on the top, you can add a public key, and then click on the dashboard, and then it will literally show you the same information that's in the accounts page. It shows you all of your stakes. It shows you how much you've progressed, how much you're making per day, how much you make a week, how much you make a month. All that stuff is in there. And that's really the inspiration for that account screen. Because I never saw anybody visualize the HEX interest payout in a dollar amount. That was really clear to me. You know, so if I know I'm making, you know, $500 a month, that is more valuable than saying like whatever the T-share rate of that is a month. I don't transact in T-shares.
To a new guy, especially, they don't know what the hell a T-share is. They're like, all right, how much money am I making? What are the dollar values? Are you also using an assumption of maybe like 6 HEX per day per T-share? Is that like a...
So the way the application works is that it actually goes to the HEX contract and it reads all of the last days. So it's not making any assumptions. It's actually calculating the T-share payout for every day against your stakes that day and calculating what your payout is. So there's no assumptions. So if there's one day, you know, there was that day where HEX 19 got hacked and he had a huge payout. The payout that day was ridiculous if you were to go look back, right? Because it was like 25 HEX per T-share. So there's no assumptions. It's just reading what's on chain and showing you past performance. Basically, this is how much you made last day.
Yeah, that's the cool part right there, is that you're getting this direct blockchain data. Okay, there's no assumptions here other than, you know, the price, because nobody knows what the USD price will be. So you could just take the price that it is today, which is also being read directly from Uniswap, which is where HEX is primarily traded. It's very transparent data, and it's going, I think, with an API directly to the Ethereum RPC, is what you just told me earlier. We should probably tell people what it's called, right? It's called HEX Wallet app, right? What's the website for it?
Hexwallet.app.
Okay, I don't know. Is it too early to be trying to?
It's fine.
This?
If it gets overwhelming, I'll just stop the beta process and I can stop it. So
but
it's fine. If people want to check it out, the one drawback is that it's only on iOS right now. So if you have an Android phone, I would recommend either going to the crispystaker.com website or crispy-staker.com website, or going and just using the Staker app, which, you know, gives you effectively the same information. So
so that's hexwallet.app, everybody. iOS only. And if you want to be a beta tester, find bugs, I think do you have like a Telegram that you have all the bugs?
It's also Hex Wallet app, t.me/Hex Wallet app. And I'm in there with a bunch of my friends and then a bunch of people that are testing it and have given a lot of really, really good suggestions along the way. So,
well, man, it's a great example of just what the community is all about, is just building the tools that work for themselves and that end up working for everybody else too. That's how a lot of the best apps are built. You know, a developer will solve a problem that he just wants to solve because it makes his life easier, or her life, whatever. And then it ends up helping everybody else, because really a lot of the people in HEX are pretty like-minded. It's just that very few people know how to do what you do, which is app development, which is especially iOS app development. Now, I guess I'll do a little bug report right now. Did you know on the price chart, you can't really zoom out? I've been trying to like zoom out on here.
I'm trying to figure out a good way to have that price chart work. I was trying to use what's the thing called TradingView, importing it similar to how the Staker app imports the TradingView chart. But then I was having problems with light mode and dark mode, where, you know, if you had the chart open, it would show up super bright even if you were in dark mode. And there are a couple of bugs in the TradingView charting library, and I didn't want to deal with that. So then I built a native chart, and that has problems because there's just data propagation. It doesn't work like TradingView, and I think that's kind of the de facto standard of how everybody expects things to work. So yeah, there's a couple of bugs in the chart, and I need to take a look at those. I've just been busy doing real.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, hey, you're building stuff for free, so you can't complain anything about that. There's also underneath the price chart like a Uniswap liquidity pool monitor, so you can always take a look at how much liquidity there is on ETH and USDC pairs. And I think you're working on adding in V3 liquidity as well, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the real impetus for this app was to learn exactly how the HEX contract works, because all of the code that's in here is rebuilding the logic of the HEX contract. It's just written in a different programming language. It's not Solidity. It's written in Swift. So all of the calculations in here are the same calculations that are in the HEX contract. All the bigger pays better, longer pays better, all that stuff. So it really gave me a good understanding of how HEX works. And then the second thing was, well, how do some of these other protocols in crypto work? So now I have a very, very clear understanding of how Uniswap v2 works, because I have to call Uniswap v2 to figure out the liquidity pair, to figure out the price, to show you the price on the screen, right? And then once you have that, then I want to figure out Uniswap v3. So how do the pools work? How do the different ticks and the different markers at the different pools work? So that's really the next thing that I'm trying to look at and understand. And then in addition to that, once you have this working on Ethereum, you can just point the RPC to PulseChain, and then all the data shows up there too. So you can add your Pulse wallet if you had stakes before the snapshot and see your same stakes on Pulse, and you can see the price of HEX on Pulse. And so it gives you this very easy way to point at multiple chains and then see the same data that's been copied over to Pulse.
I love how easy it is. Like, and I'm not a developer, but I'm assuming it's just, one setting where you point to a different network, and you've already got that implemented in the app for the PulseChain testnet. So this is already PulseChain testnet ready. Clearly, you already understand how you're going to do it when PulseChain goes live. And this is the cool thing about forking Ethereum, right? All the code is the same. Like, it's a clone of Ethereum. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to relearn everything. All of your learning on HEX, on the HEX smart contract, on Ethereum, on liquidity, Uniswap, whatever, it's all going to transfer over. It's very portable knowledge. And you don't have to retrain any devs in some crazy new language with, new frameworks and IDEs or whatever. But yeah, I just think it's awesome. I love when people actually build stuff. Like I was telling you earlier, I love just like heads down working and building rather than just arguing on Twitter. Although it is fun sometimes to grab your popcorn and just talk about, shit on people and stuff. But there's always something going on. And I want to sidetrack because I know it's on everyone's mind right now. And I'll just ask you this because I don't think we talked about this yet. Thoughts on Hedron, sir?
Oh my gosh. I don't want to get involved in all this Twitter drama. So I'm actually doing some research into some encapsulated stake stuff right now, but I need to figure out I need to do a little bit more research before I can have an educated comment on it.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, that's more than what some people are doing. Some people have very strong opinions and haven't seemed to look into it at all. So I'm
literally using a lot of on-chain analysis to figure out. Basically, what I'm looking at right now is, like what percentage of the stakes right now are encapsulated, and then what's that, what does that actually mean for the price and stuff like that. So I don't know that much about it, but I'm trying to figure out how many are on there. So
yeah, I have to imagine, like, if stakes are encapsulated, that's just another option for somebody to do that. No one's forcing anybody to encapsulate a stake and trade it. However, because it unlocks another option of something to do, you will attract a lot more people to stake, theoretically, because people that wouldn't want to hold a 15-year stake, that would want the other option. Like, more options is generally better as long as the protocol works. And the concept of encapsulated stakes has been talked about for a long time. We had Hex Bay. I don't know if you remember Hex Bay.
Yeah.
It was like the first iteration of that about a year ago that nobody ended up using because it was kind of clunky and nobody really cared, right? And there was also controversy back then about Hex Bay. And it's just like, this is inevitable, man. Richard Hart was talking about, one day people can build on top of Hex like you're doing, obviously, but also another way is encapsulated stakes in a secondary bond market. And so this is going to exist in some form, I think, regardless. And Hedron is just really the first one to take a bold stab at doing it. I really hope it works. I know they got an audit. I really hope nobody gets hacked or anything. And so I'm a little skeptical of just, I like to see something working in the wild before I really start to use it for a little bit, because it's all new experimental stuff, right? And what was I going to say? Yeah, net positive maybe, because again, the people that wouldn't want to hold a stake all the way through now have an alternative option, and more stakers equals more buyers, because in order to have a stake, you need to buy the price up. Like you need to buy HEX to stake HEX. And so if more people are staking, generally that leads to more activity on HEX. I think I lost Joe. Shoot. Joe, I lost you. Uh-oh. Refresh page, sir. Hey, Joe, if you refresh your page, should be okay. Oh well. I guess I'll just talk to the chat. Joe, come back, Joe. What's up, everybody in chat? How you doing? Trevor Hansen, Tech Dolphin. How can anyone be against Hedron? Well, it's a risk, you know. How can anyone be against Hedron? It's an unknown. I get it. I mean, the concept, I'm not against the concept at all. I just think that using Hedron, you know, to mint something as a loan, if you don't know what you're doing, you know, there's liquidation risk. But another benefit, and I don't want to just talk about benefits, there's pros and cons to everything, right? But with Hedron, there's also, imagine just seeing HEX stakes being sold on all the NFT platforms, OpenSea, Rarible, whatever looks rare. Although on PulseChain, we're going to have different ones, right? Mintra, NFT on Pulse, whatever all the other ones are going to be. There's going to be more than one. And so imagine the NFT bros come over to their NFT platform and they see all these tradable stakes and encapsulated stakes. It's going to drive more publicity for HEX, you know, all under the assumption that this works securely. It has been audited. I did read the audit. I read the major issues. They have all been resolved or specifically not addressed for a specific reason. I've read the entire website. I've read the entire, you know, I guess, documentation about how it works. And I still need to reread it because there's still things I don't quite understand, right? I need to read it a couple times. But I would suggest everybody do that before getting into anything like a Hedron or like a Liquid Loans. Learn as much as you can before you make your own decision about it and take responsibility for your own decision, okay? To me, the claiming process seems pretty low risk because you're just signing a digital signature. This is kind of like people did with the Bitcoin free claims, right? They just signed a digital signature saying that they owned all that Bitcoin. Well, in Hedron, I think you're signing a digital signature to prove that you own this stake. And, you know, the stake has this information within it, like how many days you've served, how many shares are associated with it. So to me, claiming seems low risk. But again, I'm not telling anybody what to do about Hedron. I'm just telling you my thoughts about it. Hopefully Joe comes back pretty soon. Oh, you said apparently Joe's apartment rug pulled him. The power went out. So that's all right. We'll finish up without him, guys. We'll finish up without him. All right. Kinetic says all financial advice network. Thanks, Coffee. Yeah. That's the problem with being a talking head on YouTube, right? It's just that people listen to you without doing their own research, right? But this channel is all about personal responsibility, self-sovereignty. The point of crypto is to take your power into your own hands. And if you don't like something, don't use it. And if you're interested in something, go research it some more. Like when we say do your own research, yeah, you can research. Like I can be a part of your research. I can tell you what I know. But, you know, I'd also say go talk to the founder, go to the Telegram group, go to the website, read the white paper. You know, I interviewed the Hedron founder to understand more. I've been in the Hedron chat room trying to read and absorb. I've read, you know, I think everybody that in order to have good conversations about these new projects, we need to be educated about them. And so I'm open for, you know, Hedron, it seems like an interesting debate, but let's be careful of the anything new is bad narrative. Okay. People are going to build new stuff, whether you like it or not. And it's optional, guys. It's totally optional. So I know that's the big topic of the week right now. And we're totally off topic of Hex Wallet app. And I guess I lost my guest for today. So it's just me and you now, chat. Just me and you. By the way, hexwallet.app is the beta for Joe's app that he built. Check it out, guys. It's actually pretty cool. if you want to set up a staking ladder and if you want to know how much money you can actually make with a staking ladder, there's a couple different places to do it. You can go to stakehex.today, but that could be a little overwhelming if you don't really know much about it. Stakehex.today goes really in depth, but there's also hexwallet.app. And that's right, Ninja Chopstick. Make sure to tickle that like button. Tickle it till it giggles like a little schoolgirl. Marco Marcelo, liquid loan sacrifice. Any thoughts, Mr. Coffee? I sacrificed a little. That's my thought. And again, I've interviewed the founders. I've talked to the actual founder. I've looked at the liquidity code. I looked at the liquidity audits of which it was forked from. I know Liquid Loans is having another audit. I kind of wish they would have released the audit before the sacrifice phase because it would have given people more confidence. But hey, they're choosing to do it how they're choosing to do it. So I threw a little at it, but if I didn't already have HEX and PulseX, I would not be sacrificing for Liquid Loans because honestly, although I'm bullish on it, it's probably my fourth most bullish position after the first three, right? So obviously PLS, HEX, and PulseX are what I'm most excited about in terms of price performance and everything like that. But yeah, Liquid Loans seems to have good intentions, be doing everything to the best of their ability, and they're marketing an already existing product that has never been hacked on Ethereum, that's been forked to 5 or 6 other blockchains at least, that follows all the principles of no governance, no admin keys, actually decentralized and all that stuff. That's my quick thoughts on that. Hexologist says the OA cannot EES anyone. Yeah, that's definitely true. Who said that? Mexican American? What's up with Maddie's new videos saying the OA will EES anyone that claims Hedron? So it's not possible for the origin address to emergency end stake anyone. What's possible is that the origin address could claim a bunch of Hedron and then dump it all, so the price would go down a lot, right? It could single-handedly wreck the project. However, I don't think the origin address will do anything because that would signal some kind of either support or resistance. Again, it would assume that the origin address is aware of Hedron, and I don't think the origin address wants to be associated with anything at all. I think it wants to leave its coins dormant, and as we've seen in the past, it kind of only acts in the favor of the HEX protocol and the HEX ecosystem. All we've ever seen the origin address do is stake, especially before big payday to benefit all the long-term thinkers, and make a couple of 10, 15-year stakes to indicate what I would assume to be support for HEX, right? That, hey, I'm on your team. That's how I kind of read that. But I don't think the origin address's actions will have anything to do with overlapping or parallel projects like Hedron. I don't think it's going to touch Hedron. However, it easily could mint a bunch of Hedron and dump it all in the market. So beware, imaginary horribles, Hey, we got Joe back. Joe, what's up?
What's going on?
Hey, you got rugs, huh?
Yeah, the power in my apartment went out, so no more computer. I'm outside.
It looks nice out. How did the power go out?
I have no idea.
Damn. Well, that's all right. We were just talking about Hedron and Liquid Loans and all the other drama going on, but yeah, we can get back to basically what we were talking about. I mean, what are your thoughts about crypto right now? What's going on in general?
I don't know. I feel like I first got started in crypto in, I guess, 2013. So this is another expected bear market. I think we went to the point of irrational exuberance and we're pulling back a little bit, and then, we're probably just going to go higher again. So, but I don't really have any, I think, oh, well, it's not a good light. I think that we're definitely in a spot where there are a lot more people in the market now than there were originally. And so I don't know what the bottom is going to look like. I'm not like a TA person, so I have no real good analysis on how well the market's going to do or how poorly the market's going to do. But I do think that there are a lot more people involved now. it's kind of crazy how many people are excited about crypto and want to get in the space. So
Yeah. Well, that tells me that it's definitely not going away, right? You've got more people than ever. All the fundamental numbers are growing, but the price is
mhm,
down. So
yeah,
what happens when the price is down? Well, people argue like little girls, and then they also sell and they run away. And that means that cycles lengthen in general because every cycle there's new waves of people, but it also takes, so they buy it up higher and they sell it as with every cycle, but it takes longer and it takes it's
mhm,
spread out over time because in order to shake out, a million people, it takes a lot longer than when there's only 10,000 people in the ecosystem, and to shake out all those sellers only takes, a couple of months. So, we're looking at, I think we've already been in a bear market for almost a year, depending if you want to count the top from the first 65K or the second one. But we've
mhm.
at least been in a bear market for 5 or 6 months now in the macro scale on Bitcoin. And things are not looking good geopolitically. And we might go through a little rough patch here. And so I think it's reasonable to expect a bear market to last a minimum of a year, but because of lengthening cycles, could last a little bit longer. And this could be the most epic dip buying opportunity for everybody that's new here because, you could set yourself up, especially if we go any lower, to really ride the next wave. Because
Yeah.
I feel fairly confident, like you, saying that crypto's not going anywhere. I mean, by all the fundamentals, more people are building all like cool stuff. The user experience is only getting better. The Hex ecosystem, especially, it seems to be thriving. Just despite what's happening on Twitter.
Yeah, I would say there's two things. Last week I went to eat Denver, and it was ridiculous. There were so many people there, so much excitement, so much bullishness. If you would have told people 2 weeks ago or last week that we were in a bear market, there's no way you would have told people in Denver that that's happening, because there were so many people there just excited about everything in the crypto ecosystem. And then, the other thing, one of the challenges or one of the goals that I wanted to build the Hex Wallet app for is so that when there is a bear market, you still have something positive to look at. You can still say, even though we're down, I made $100 yesterday, or I made $200 yesterday, or I made $50 yesterday, right? Because if you just look at the metric of the price chart, you're going to get depressed. And I even have a good friend. He has his wallet address in, and he was like, the price is down. I'm not feeling too good. I'm feeling bummed. And I just said, put your wallet address in, set the date to a month, and then look at that number. And he looked at the number, and I'm like, look, you just made $15,000 last month. And then he's like, oh yeah, okay, I guess I did. And that type of psychology, unplugging you from having to think about the price chart or like very frequent numbers that are moving, I think makes it a lot easier for you to stake and then just chill. I think there are a lot of people that have that mentality. So you can just stake and then just chill, and you can see positive numbers even if everything is going down. Um,
Yeah.
you know, One of the things I told you before is that I have all of Godwill's accounts all tracked. So I can see how much money he's making a day. And he's just making an obscene amount of money. But,
Hmm.
or I don't, if it's a he or she, I don't know. But the Godwill account is making a ton of money. Right. And
Yeah.
so if they're just looking at their interest payout, they're not going to be worried about a dip or whatever. They're just going to say, I'm still earning enough that's going to keep me sustained over my 15-year stake period or whatever. They have a bunch of different stakes and a bunch of different windows. But yeah.
Yeah, there's so much positive stuff to focus on, right? I mean, the price is one metric, but the price going down can be flip-flopped, and you can actually look at that as an opportunity, right? If you find yourself getting depressed or anxious about the price chart, chances are you might have invested more than you're willing to lose. But also, there's plenty of other fundamental metrics to look at. Number of stakers going up every day. The average weighted stake length is going up every day. We've got people building apps left and right, everywhere you turn. Brand new hex.com. Richard Hart in the news for buying a world's largest diamond. You got Hex NASCAR was in the Daytona 500. It's going to be in a race in Vegas. You've got a Las Vegas conference coming up March 6th through 9th. If you're that much of a fan of Hex, there's a big Hex King conference in real life. You can meet these people, talk to them. The community is growing, right? We've got new YouTubers coming on every day. The metrics on the YouTube channels are growing exponentially, which is almost like what you would call divergence on a stock chart, right? If you're looking at social metrics going up and price going down, what is that called in TA? That's called divergence, right? Because you've got conflicting metrics there, and so usually that means reversal, at least short term, probably long term, is in the cards. It's in the near future. So we just wicked down on the news of Putin declaring war. Pretty insane, but I hope that can be resolved with minimal violence. But either way, that's one of those black swan events where it sent the price all the way down to 12 cents. We've already recovered to 15, and I believe that getting back to the price after these sacrifices are over, especially after the liquid loans bonding curve starts and people stop dumping their HEX for liquid loan sacrifice, I think we can see the price start to rise again in the time leading up to PulseChain. Do you have any price predictions for us? I know I hate asking that, but how do you feel about it?
Our joke is HEX to $200. So that's my price prediction.
Hey man.
Nah, I'm not really, like I said, a TA person. So I don't really have any, I tried trading in the 2017 bull market, and I tried trading the whole time. I traded ETH, I traded all types of stuff. And I think the only reason that I was successful was because the rest of the market was going up, not because I was actually good at trading. And so, the way I got into HEX was watching traders. I think it was Tone Vase, and he had Richard on some show at the time called Crypto Scam, I think it was. And that's how I first heard about Richard. And then I was
That's
trading
so
the whole
funny
time.
because it had the exact opposite effect, right? He's trying to prevent scams and he's giving up a platform, and then you literally got on board through that.
Well, I guess they were talking about other projects. They were talking about things I guess they're called Ripple and all these other things in scam. And they were going through the technical details of why they were a scam. And that's what got me into following Richard Hart. And so I just realized after the 2017 bull run that I'm not good at trading. I'm not good at price prediction. And so I wanted to make something that would help somebody like me, who's more of a long-term thinker. I just want to put my money somewhere and just let it appreciate and not have to worry about trading it every 5 seconds, or waking up at 2 a.m. and being like, is it down, is it up, should I sell, should I not, so
yeah.
I'm not really good at price predictions.
Man, I did the exact same thing. I was a Tone Vase follower in 2018 because after all the altcoins crashed, it looked like the smart move to be a Bitcoin maxi. They all looked like they were the smartest, even though their coin dipped 85%. They didn't get wrecked as bad as everyone else. And so they said, haha, see, this is the way. And I almost got so close-minded that I didn't even buy into HEX right away. I like to say I'm a recovering Bitcoin maxi, but I really like to choose, really, really be careful about what I'm investing in, say no to 99.99% of things, and maybe only invest in the, 3 to 5 products that you actually understand, that you actually believe in, and obviously take responsibility for those. And obviously hold them very long term, because that's how the real gains are made. But I am definitely glad that after 2018, I was able to be open-minded enough, like you, to move away from just following people like Tone and then get into some new innovations that are actually changing the space.
Yeah, it's actually the reason why I got into HEX was also because of Tone. Because remember, he did that. They had that talk where it was him and 2 lawyers, and they were talking to Richard.
Yeah.
And it was right before HEX launched, and I was just like, oh, I wonder how Tone Base is doing. I haven't heard from him in a while, and I wasn't really following. So I found it, and that was the first talk that I found. And then I found the Eric Wall talk where he said this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. And so that was what kind of prompted me to look into it again and see what was going on. And that was right before the launch. So
that's so funny, man. It just goes to show you, no matter how hard you try to stop scams by yelling about them, if you mention them at all, yeah. But yeah, man, it backfires, dude. Tone Base probably onboarded more people to HEX than a lot of people out there.
Yeah. He has the number one. He is the God will.
Yeah, he'll never admit it, but he loves HEX. He's got a little shrine of Richard in his closet. Heard BTC will go up to 100K this year. Yeah, right. I think everybody and their mother is saying that Bitcoin is going to 100K. I don't think Bitcoin is going to 100K. I don't find that very likely in this bull cycle. What about you?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going. It seems like everything is going down. It's reminiscent of after 2017 or after 2013. It's kind of like that, the drop in all of the prices. But who knows? I mean, there could be something that happens and all of a sudden people want to basically move all their money into crypto for some odd reason. There could be another black swan. I feel like after
Yeah.
2021 or 2020, it's like black swan every year.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Everything's a
who
black
knows
swan,
what's going to
man.
happen? Exactly. Yeah. So who
It's
knows
kind
what's
of
going to happen?
it's kind of like what's happening with geopolitical instability might actually end up being good for crypto, right? If all these economic sanctions are being placed and we're fighting essentially an economic warfare, people can turn to crypto as an opt-out. It might actually help lead to mass adoption as long as the internet stays up. This
Yeah.
might not be the worst thing.
Yeah. True. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. Ryan Murray says World War III might lengthen the bear market. Yeah, I hate even mentioning that. I don't want to talk that into existence. I hope everything can be resolved without, the entire world becoming involved. And I just hope it recovers soon, guys. I hope everybody gets their shit sorted out. Corey Walker says, do you think Pulse or PulseX have similar staking to HEX? No, I don't think any staking is similar to HEX at all because there's consequences for pulling out early in HEX. And that's only one part of it. But I think Pulse and PulseX staking is not going to be, it'll be a reason to keep holding it, but it's not going to be anywhere near, number one, the APY you're getting from HEX. Number two, all the penalties and all the, late end stake penalties, early end stake penalties that you're getting, and the price appreciation on top of that, and all the apps built around it. I don't think they're similar systems at all. What's your take?
Yeah, I think the hex dynamic for staking is unique, right? It has a unique characteristic that, I mean, Pulse has staking, but it's a different type of staking. It's similar to more of like, I guess, like BSC's staking type instead of having this time lock feature. And then also the inflation payout on a layer one is just different than the mechanics of hex. There's none of that game theory of the bigger pays better, longer pays better built into a layer one staking mechanism. But and this is actually something that I've had conversations with. I have friends that work at Avalanche, and I think they have like a max 1 year or 2 year staking window. And one of my friends, he was an early Avalanche staker, and he was talking about how he has he's trying to avoid these tax burdens because his stakes are all lower than a year, and he lives in a place where long-term capital gains requires you to stake for a year.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you need to have a way to stake longer, right? Like the window's too short. So there's, I think, a lot of advantages in the game theory of HEX that have been really carefully thought out beforehand that make it so that if you are a long-term thinker, you can benefit if you can use that long-term time preference to make your decisions.
Yeah, and to add to that, a lot of staking really just works like, you activate staking mode and then you get a trickle in of new coins every day. But with HEX, you burn your coins. They go away. They don't exist. And then you mint them all back when the stake is over. So there's really just two transactions. One, you burn for T-shares, and on the way out, you burn for HEX again. So there's no like number counter that just ticks up every day, because really that's almost like a taxable event every time your number ticks up, right? So I think HEX has been very well thought out from a trust. It is trustless interest. It's if you're going to program programmable money, the first program that you should run is the interest program or yield. It's so obvious. I don't know why anybody hadn't done it before.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's check out the chat. I just bought and staked my first HEX. Will I get copies on Pulse? That's an easy one. Yes. Yes, you will. Don't worry. So it seems like you're pretty involved in the developer community then for crypto. Can you give us any insider info on what's going on? What are people interested in? Like, do you hear people talking about PulseChain a lot when you're talking to other devs and stuff?
I mean, not really. I think, there's kind of like there is this community, the HEX community and the Richard Hart community, which is kind of isolated from the rest of everybody else. I think you've got these, I equate it to kind of like religions, right? Where everybody has their own religion and nobody really wants to follow somebody else's. And there's all these forks of, the main Ethereum religion that are all these EVM chains. And then you've got Solana, which is its own group of people. Then you've got Algorand, which is its own group of people. And so everybody's really isolated right now. And I think even though a lot of people are building the same things on the same chains and they rhyme, people still think, oh, I have the solution or they have the solution. And so it's really hard to really make sense of things because everything is kind of just spreading. And we're eventually going to get to a point where everything starts consolidating again, but we're just not there right now. And so it's really hard to make sense of everything. So I think it's really up to individuals to kind of be open-minded. I think you mentioned this earlier. It's like being a little bit more open-minded about what people are building, what people are really innovating on, because it might be the thing that you don't expect that's going to be the winner in the space. And it's just because you weren't paying attention to it that you missed out on this amazing opportunity. And I don't really even know what that is right now, but I would say nobody mentioned Pulse when I was at Denver. I didn't hear anybody say anything about it the whole time. So,
well, that's sad, but that's also probably because it doesn't exist yet. So maybe when it's out, people will start talking about it. I do have a suspicion that the more easily you can get into something, the more similar it is to something else, the easier it is to migrate over. So a lot of the people on BSC and a lot of the people on Ethereum will have much less friction coming over to PulseChain. It's a lower amount of things they have to learn. And so I don't know if it's too early to call this, but I'm almost imagining, how Amazon, Google, and Microsoft all have cloud services, and those are kind of the big three. Well, what I'm hoping for is that PulseChain, Binance Smart Chain, and Ethereum kind of become like the new Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, because they're all similar enough, but have their own perks and differences, because they're all EVM compatible, but they've all got different apps on top. They've all got different throughput, different costs, and different pros and cons.
Yeah, I think the idea of forking the whole system state for PulseChain is pretty brilliant. I mean, they've done it, if you look at Bitcoin, right, there's forks of Bitcoin and then there's forks of Bitcoin plus system state, right? So you can create Litecoin, which is a fork, but there's no system state, or you can create, BS or was it BSC, right? Or not BSC. What's it? What's
ZK?
No, what's Roger's fork of Bitcoin? Bitcoin Cash. That's what BCH. Yeah. Right. So you can create Bitcoin Cash, which is a fork plus system state, right? And so I think that the idea of forking Ethereum plus system state is a really, really interesting concept. And I actually heard about this a while ago. There were a couple of other chains that were thinking of doing that, where they were going to fork Ethereum and its system state and then deploy it on another chain with a different consensus network. But I think this is the actual first implementation at scale that's being done. So it's going to be really interesting.
Nobody's had the balls to do it so far. Everybody probably thought it would be too complicated, and we can't just copy everyone's coins. And Richard's like, well, why not? Let's try.
I mean, it is controversial.
Yeah,
so.
because the market will decide if these coins are valuable, and I just don't think you can ignore a free version of every one of your coins. I mean, that is too big to ignore, and so it's going to put PulseChain on the radar, regardless of whether or not any PulseChain Shiba has any value at all, or if it's got lower or more value. But the way it was done means you have to look into Pulse. You can't ignore it.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that I hear about from friends, if you just talk to regular people that are trying to get into crypto, the gas fees are really that number one pain point for everybody. If you have to spend $100 to stake $1,000, people just look at that and they look at the dollar term. If you were a Pulse, or if you were an Ethereum OG and you have 1,000 Ethereum, you're thinking in Ethereum terms. You're not thinking in dollar terms. But if you come into this ecosystem and people have this unit bias that they think, oh, I'm spending so many dollars to do this action, it makes it very difficult for people to want to engage in the ecosystem. So bringing that cost down, even if it's just psychological, bringing that cost down makes it a lot easier for people to play around, build stuff. Like on testnet, I'm a testnet billionaire. I do all types of random stuff on testnet. I'll make things, throw things, and burn things up. But you can't do that on mainnet right now because it's just challenging.
Yeah. PulseChain, it's going to change the game. Let's see what the chat's saying. Oh yeah, so there's other chains, right? And there's other, like you were just mentioning that there's other ghost town blockchains pretty much, or there's other places that people are trying to build, and everyone thinks that their chain is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's like, but having actually used a couple of these things, like I've used QuickSwap, which was a layer 2. You have to rebuild the entire infrastructure. Like you have to redeploy all the dApps over there.
Yep.
And that really is the problem.
Yeah. And that's that's one of the benefits of the like that what I was talking about the Hex wallet app before, is that I can just point to the actual Uniswap. It's the same contract address. The pool is the same pool address. All of the math and calculations are exactly the same. I don't have to change anything. I just said, instead of RPC being in Fura or Alchemy, RPC is now the Hex or the Pulse RPC, and then everything just works. So it's going to be super easy for a developer who wants to take something that they've already built and then just point it at this new RPC and then be up and running. And you have, all of your coins, all of your NFTs, all of your stuff is all copied over. And then you have way more transaction power because the cost is way down. So yeah, it's a genius idea.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when QuickSwap came out and everyone was so excited about really cheap trading, basically. But then they don't consider that you have to bridge over there. That costs $50 worth of gas. It takes about an hour or two to bridge over there. And once you're on there, yeah, you can do all the swapping and trading you want, but then you have to stake. So you have to go back into Ethereum because the HEX contract doesn't exist on QuickSwap. So when you fork the code, you copy the smart contracts. You don't have to redeploy smart contracts. They just work.
Yep.
So.
And then with that bridge, you also have to factor in all the counterparty risk, right? So there's a bunch of externalities that exist when you're talking about having to bridge over. And if everything is just there and the game is just set up and it's just a little bit more efficient, I think that's going to be a big impact for adoption as well. One of the things I was actually looking at in terms of numbers is I was looking at the number of PulseX sacrificers. So on PulseX lead, I think there's 135,000. I don't know. I'm not on my computer anymore, so I can't look at the number.
Yeah.
But there's like 135,000. And if you look at, like another competing EVM chain like Avalanche, they have 120,000 users a day. So there's more people that have sacrificed for PulseX than the daily average usage of another big L1 chain that's like a top 20 chain. So when this thing gets kicked off, it's gonna be awesome, right? And that's just PulseX. That doesn't include the people that sacrifice for Pulse, and it doesn't include all these other people that are gonna show up after they realize like, oh, all of my stuff is already working on here.
That's a really cool stat. I didn't realize that. We've got so much pent-up FOMO and so much pent-up demand because the PulseChain sacrifice phase was only like 2 weeks long. A lot of people missed it, and a lot of people found out about it. Was almost like the perfect, I don't even know if Richard planned it this way, but PulseX made everybody realize that they missed PulseChain. I mean, it was almost brilliant because you got even more FOMO because people heard about PulseX and then they heard about PulseChain. And so I think we might see the price do pretty well when PulseChain releases, and it might never really go below the sacrifice levels, or it might. But with those kind of numbers, man, people are ready. People are standing by, just waiting to try it out.
Yeah. I think there's definitely going to be an interesting launch for something like this, because I don't think we've ever seen anything in crypto this massive as in terms of a launch scale before.
I don't even think I've seen many Telegram groups reach 60,000 members before they had a working product. And the ones that do are maybe like crypto.com or whatever. That's like a giant corporation, a giant on-ramp that everybody's using it for technical support and stuff. I don't think I've seen anything gain this much popularity,
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of excitement. And if you know how to build, if you know how to code Android and you want to try to make an Android version of this Hex wallet app, and like native Java or Kotlin, because I know one of the things that people have been asking me is, hey, how does this work on Android? Does this work on Android? And I just point them to the individual sites that the Hex wallet app is copied from. I say go to crispy-staker.com or go to hexcalc.net or go to these individual sites. But if you're an Android developer, we're in the Hex wallet app Telegram channel. So you can come pop in there and maybe we can work on building something together. because that would be super helpful. Because I love, like I said, I use Staker every day. And that's they have a lot of really good game theory mechanics in there with the leagues and telling you the average stake length and a bunch of stuff that really requires a database to store this information and run these calculations, which
Yeah.
the Hex wallet app doesn't do. So if you know how to read and write on chain, you can learn a little bit about the contracts and stuff as well. So be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, we're coming up at about 50 minutes. I think I might call it a day right here.
Yeah.
Do you have any other final thoughts? You want to tell the audience anything?
Not really. Just chill. I love the community is hilarious, but when the price is down, obviously things get crazy. But hopefully, there's a lot of people. This is their first bear market, and I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, everybody's gonna we're all gonna be all right. So I'll just say just chill and get that long-term thought process in, because it's gonna be we're gonna be in a good spot.
Yep. Yeah, guys, crypto is just doing what crypto does. And if this is your first rodeo, like Joe said, chill, stake, wait, and you will be rewarded for your patience. Thanks for coming on, man. I had a really good time. So
awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Sorry about the blackout and the craziness.
I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
Okay.
All right. Peace out, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Catch you later.